Hi everyone! For the first bar of this impromptu, which is repeated in the second bar, Chopin presents the harmonies with little embellishment. In the left hand, using compound melody, he creates three melodic strands, the lowest of which sounds the root note of tonic A-flat major harmony, which then moves to the fifth degree of the following E-flat dominant seventh chord. With this type of texture, instead of hearing the lowest strand moving from A-flat to this E-flat note, putting the tonic chord into second inversion, and the B-flat, again moving to E-flat, putting the dominant seventh into root position, the A-flat and B-flat notes should be heard sounding for two quarter note beats. The middle strand consists of an E-flat pedal, which is prolonged by a D natural lower neighbour note. The E-flat, D, E-flat move is also used motivically on the first quarter note beat of the right hand, where the first E-flat note is decorated with a mordant. While the right hand's motif only lasts for a single quarter note beat, with each of the three eighth note triplet beats occurring successively, the left hand's motif, while still only using eighth note triplet beats, spans 4 beats, with the first beat occurring on the final beat of the previous quarter note triplet, and the second and third triplet beats separated by a note from the upper strand. Over the A-flat chord, the upper note is a C, and over the E-flat dominant seventh, a D-flat. As just stated, the upper strand moves from C to D-flat, moving in thirds with the lower strands A-flat and B-flat notes. This C vertically interacts with the D lower neighbour note of the right hand motif. The resulting second, however, is acceptable as it involves a harmony and non-harmony note. The tempo also lessens the dissonance. The C and the E-flat are also part of a voice exchange, with the right hand's E-flat moving to the middle strand of the left hand, and the C of the left hand's upper strand moving to the right hand, where melodically it's approached by a leap after the opening motif. The voice exchange means C again interacts vertically with the D natural of the motif, now sounding as a compound minor seventh, while this C vertically interacts with this passing B-flat note. Again, this type of dissonance is acceptable, especially at the work's tempo, but here again also the C of both examples is a harmony note, while the D and B-flat are non-harmony notes. From this A-flat, Chopin begins a partially chromatic descent to the root note of the E-flat dominant seventh chord, but he displaces the F up an octave, where it's given consonant support by the left hand's D-flat. With all of these components in place, the three strands in the left hand and the right hand's conclusion on E-flat, Chopin resolves the E-flat dominant seventh chord as expected, and then repeats the first bar's content in bar 2. In this way, the dominant seventh chord in bar 1 acts as a neighbour chord prolonging tonic A-flat major harmony, with the lower strand moving from A-flat to B-flat to return to A-flat, the middle strand sounding the fifth of tonic harmony and the root note of the dominant seventh chord, the upper strand moving from C to D-flat and back to C, and the right hand's contour moving from E-flat to C and back to E-flat, where it then sounds an octave lower as part of the motif in the next bar. In other words, Chopin uses the dominant's typical resolution to prolong the tonic chord. Moving into bar 3, however, while the right hand's E-flat still moves to E-flat across the bar line, now with both notes in the upper register, the lower strand's B-flat and the upper strand's D-flat both ascend respectively to C and E-flat, putting the following A-flat tonic chord in first inversion. This resolution follows a fairly common variant of a typical passing progression, in which the dominant 7th, 5th and 7th degrees both ascend rather than descend. As here, when using this variant progression, composers typically ensure that the 5th and 7th degrees move in parallel thirds, which in this instance continues the vertical thirds Chopin had established during the initial 2 bars. Here, an E passing note connects the upper strand's E-flat to an F, sounding a third over the D-flat note in the lowest strand. The D-flat and F sound as part of supertonic B-flat minor 7th harmony, with the 7th here fulfilling the same lower neighbour note function as the D beneath the E-flat in the previous bars, but the A-flat is now a major second below and is part of the underlying harmony. I should note, for this era of music, I treat the 7th degree of most chords as part of the harmony, not dissonant to the chord. As we'll see, Chopin transfers the supertonic 7th degree into different registers before it finally resolves in the following bar. In the right hand over the A-flat major chord, Chopin again uses the motif and the subsequent leap up to C, but here the C note, instead of initiating a stepwise descent to A-flat as in the previous bars, is followed by this changing note or cambiata figure comprising this G incomplete lower neighbour note prefix, sounding a semitone beneath the subsequent A-flat, and this B-flat incomplete upper neighbour note prefix, again moving to the A-flat note. Chopin continues this idea, preceding the F, the 5th degree of the supertonic 7th chord, and D flat, its 3rd. The D flat continues the supertonic 7th harmony across the bar line and vertically coincides with this D flat in the left hand's lower strand. In the right hand, after the D flat note, the line leaps to F before then moving through a G passing note to A flat, which initially sounded in the upper register of the right hand before being transferred to the middle strand of the left hand to now sound above the supertonic's 5th degree. Chopin again uses an incomplete upper neighbour note prefix to move from the A flat to B flat, the supertonic's root note. At this point, the harmony changes with the lower strand of the left hand now sounding an E flat half note, the root note of E flat dominant 7th harmony. Here a 4th strand is temporarily suggested when this G, the dominant's 3rd degree, sounds above the sustained E flat note, while the B flat and D flat, now sounding respectively as the dominant's 5th and 7th degrees, remain in their original positions above. In the right hand, the supertonic 7th degree resolves as a 4-3 suspension above the E flat half note, and this F may be heard as an incomplete lower neighbour note prefix to the G, although it lies a tone below rather than the more common semitone. Here also, Chopin again uses the changing note idea to precede the initial E flat of the motif, as the work's initial 2 bars return in bars 5 and 6, with a perfect cadence completing the 4-bar phrase. In this way, above the rise from C to D flat and on to E flat in the lowest strand of bars 3 and 4, beginning with the C in the right hand, Chopin begins a descent in thirds, which are filled in by the incomplete upper neighbour note prefixes, and which concludes in bar 5 on the motif's E flat note. This move from the initial E flat of the motif in bar 3 up to C and a return back to E flat follows that of the initial 2 bars, although in those bars the stepwise return to E flat is displaced up an octave, while here it descends a major 13th. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.